It's about time to relax, calm your mind, ease your pressure, lean back, relax and create some beautiful lo-fi with me today. Right now I'm all cozy. Yeah. So what are the characteristics of this genre? This genre is really laid back, it's all chill. Your aim is just to create a beautiful ambient where people like to chill, where people like to hang out, where they can ease their mind. You can use samples of water, of waterfalls, of an ocean, birds, leaves blowing in the wind. Just come up with a relaxing scenery. The tempo is around 70 BPM, or if you double it, 140. It's essentially the same. For the instruments, you might use a piano, a classical guitar, an electric guitar with a soft touch. You might use a Rode piano, anything that sounds kind of jazzy is a perfect fit for lo-fi, as it empathizes on the same kind of principles like jazz. Aim for a warm atmosphere in your tracks. Alright, let's break down this beautiful beat I came up with. First we're talking about the intro section. Beautiful, right? It's so simple to create and it has a magnificent effect on us. The first thing I did, I just created a small little rim pattern. The rim pattern just sounds like this. This really simple pattern. What I've did, I went to the mixer channel, got the rim here, right click, create automation clip, and I've created an automation clip for the volume of the rim. And there we have it. As we can see, the rim is slowly fading in. In the intro, I just want everything to slowly fade in to introduce our listener to the track and get him comfortable. On a piano, I did a similar thing. The piano has a filter cutoff that is slowly fading away, taking the piano from sounding very thin to sounding way more thicker and more warmer. As you can hear. How can you do this? You just go to the mixer channel, go to your piano, create a high pass filter like this. You go over here, right click, create automation clip. Bada boom, bada bang, paint it in. First it looks like this, boom, drag it down. Now you get your automation clip for the cutoff. The piano is just a simple 1, 3, 4, 3 chord progression. We got F major, A minor, and E minor. And A minor again. Why is it sounding so beautiful? Why is it sounding so natural? I just get in and change each and every note individually when it starts to play. As you might already see, we've used 7th chords. 7th chords are known to sound really jazzy, really relaxing, really vibey. Therefore, it is a perfect fit for lo-fi music. What is a 7th chord for those who don't know? This is a simple triad. You add the 7th note of the scale on top. Triad, 7th. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We are in the A minor scale, meaning we can play all the white keys. There you got your 7th. Simple as that. We got the same principle on the other chords, just that we copied the root note and put it down 1 octave lower to create a more open, spacious sound. But why is this chord so organic sounding? It's so organic because of the fact that I changed the play time of every note, or the starting time of every note. Like, when is the piano player hitting these notes? He's not hitting them perfectly on the grid. As you can see, they are a little bit offset. How can you do that? Just select the note and click Command and move it slightly back or forth. This just creates a more kind of natural sound. Alright, what else makes these chords sound so great? They are sounding so great because of the fact that I changed the volume of each and every note individually. As you can see right here, this volume is lower, this is a bit lower, this is way higher. So the whole chord is kind of empathizing on these two chords. Just experiment with it, come up with something that sounds beautiful to you. For all of you lazy guys out there, or just the guys that want to get it done quicker, select everything, press Command R. This piano roll randomizer is showing up. Here you can change the velocity. As you can see, everything is changing. And you can select a seed, a random seed. As you can hear, it changes dramatically, but this randomizer can clearly come up with something that sounds really great. So just try it out. The last thing, sorry if I bother you with this long chord explanation, are the transition notes. These, and this, and these, and these, and these. Yeah, transition notes, just to make the chord progression flow. They are just there to give the chord progression much more momentum, a nice little spicy touch. With them it sounds like this. And without them it would be a bit more boring. there's just something missing. Alright, the last thing in the intro is the scenery. I wanted to create a scenery. We got an FX sample of birds in a forest with some water in the background. Just take a listen to it. At least for me, this is really calming. I really like these kind of samples. You might use a suburban kind of sample. Just take your phone, go out, take an audio of your bus station or your train station or somewhere. You will come up with some amazing sounds. Cityscapes are a real staple in lo-fi as well. I heard many songs about cityscapes in the intro, and yeah, they generally sound really good. Some people have used sounds from a coffee shop. Just try to create an atmosphere where people can chill. As you might have seen, a big audience of lo-fi music are studying people somehow. And yeah, if you want to target this audience with your music, just make them calm, make them relax. They got enough stress with their homework, with their universities. Just make them calm, make them relax. As we transition to the first verse, we got a transition, pun, definitely intended right here. The transition consists of a chime sample. Yeah, the chime is really a staple in my music. I love it. And a standard fader, it's just a reverse crash. I've pitched it down. Alright, that's it for the intro. What have we learned? So, invite the people with a calm and relaxing environment. Keep it fairly simple. Don't overwhelm them with too many elements. You might introduce some percussions in the intro as well. That's completely fine. Some foley elements. Organic sounds are always great. And yeah, use an instrument that has a beautiful touch to it. Alright, intro, check. Now we can get over to the verse. The verse is fairly simplistic as well. We got 4 main elements. We got the bass or piano or drums. And something that I think gives this whole track a really nice lo-fi characteristic are these foley percussion elements down here. First we take a listen to the bass. The bass sounds like this. I created this Reese bass inside of Vital. It's a combination of these two simple shapes with this cutoff with a high frequency cutoff on the first shape and another high frequency cutoff on the second shape with an envelope that looks like this. Next we talk about the piano. The piano follows the same chord progression, but I spiced it up and created a different rhythm, a different melody to give the verse a different touch and to create some variation in the track. Now it sounds like this. A small tip is that you don't need to go crazy with your chord progressions. Just keep it fairly simple. Just introduce some rhythmic patterns. As you can see right here, and right here, and right here. All of these notes follow the same rhythmic pattern. In this chord progression, I've not manually adjusted the starting point of the notes, as I think that it sounds fairly good, being a bit more robotic, at least in this section. Now we get to the drums. The drums look like this, and they sound like this. It's a really chill, relaxed pattern. It is really important that you have the right samples, as these samples just fit together really nicely. For the kick, I've used this sound. I normalized it to make it a bit more punchy and a bit more louder. And I've just added some variation right here. There's a double hit, and the rest of the pattern is just a simple pattern we know from genres like drum and bass, for example. The head follows a really simple pattern as well, and it sounds like this. I've used a technique called layering. I got 3 different sounds complementing each other to create this new head sound. Individually, they sound like this. And together. Next, we have a rim sound that plays right here to give the drum track a little bit more groove. We listen to it in context now. As you can hear, it's just like a... It's the small things. Next, we have the snare. On the snare, I've used the layering technique as well. It sounds like this. As you can hear, we've used a rim, a snap to give it more texture and more of an organic feeling, and another rim. Next, we have a rolling hi-hat. This is a regular hi-hat. We know this hi-hat from genres like trap, for example. I pitched it down a little bit and I've went into the piano roll, created some volume adjustments to give it some more dynamic. One of the last elements, another hi-hat. As you can see, I have a lot of hi-hats in here. Higher pitch sound, you know the sample from trap as well. And I've introduced it in the last section here, as it just functions as a stacked hi-hat pattern in the next verse. Down here we have an open hat to give it more bounce. and a crash that sounds like this. The drums in lo-fi are fairly easy, you just need to be a little bit creative and follow a fairly simple structure. This kick pattern works really good for me, and I've heard it in a bunch of lo-fi tracks. The rest is really up to your imagination, what you want to come up with. Lo-fi just really has no crazy drum programming, it's really down to the basics. The last and a really important element of this track, the percussions sound like this. Those are just random foley samples from a boombox sample pack. I think they sound great. I've just chopped them up so they fit the rhythm of the track, and I've spaced them so they are not clustering everything up and they're just playing at specific points in a track. Hotspots for a track are always these beginning sections in between, like here and here and here, and at the end. This one right here functions as sort of a transition to the next verse, as it fades out like a delay effect. Let's take a listen at everything playing together. The next two sections are just building on top of the first section. The bass is essentially the same in the second verse. One element I added was the Rode piano. The Rode piano looks like this and it sounds like this. But what I like to do is I just like to manually add this delay effect for the notes, like here, over here, over here, over here, as it's just a cool effect. These notes sound like they are ringing out, a really trippy kind of feeling. I took care of dynamics in this melody, as I have low notes in the middle section are the most empathized right here, and we have high notes playing. So we are filling a good range over here. We went from F4 to F6. As you can see, I've manually adjusted the volume of each note, given this melody even more dynamic, making it bounce really nicely. Context, it sounds like this. As you can hear in the end over here, I've introduced a guitar. The guitar essentially follows the same pattern as the Rode piano, and it just supports the melody and gives it more dimension and more depth. In the end over here we have a small gap where the drums are not playing. This gives us a little room to breathe. As this new instrument is getting introduced, we are purely focusing on this small part over here. The next section is essentially the same pattern as this section over here, just with a added guitar decked on top of the Rode piano. As you can see, here I've used this transition perk as well, because I think that, but I left out these perkies, as I think that minimalism is really important, at least in my style of music. I don't want to have too many layers in my track to not overwhelm the listener. What you can do to keep a little bit more interest and keep the listener a bit more hooked, create these unique drum patterns. As you can hear in this section over here, we got 3 drum hits over here, and only 2 drum hits over here. It's all about the small things. Praise them. In the third section over here, we have a little interesting thing. We changed up the bass pattern a little bit to give this section a little bit more hype, as the bass pattern is a really impactful part of the track. I went a little bit higher over here, and over here is a small variation compared to this pattern. It sounds like this. Excuse me for that. As you might already notice, over here in this section, we have something interesting going on. It's easier to hear if we just solo the bass for a second. Listen to this section here. As you could hear, we have a filter automation on these notes to just add a little bit more spice. I went into Vital and I've just created an automation for this filter over here. to push some higher frequencies through the mix. Down here you can see that I've manually drew this automation in. This is really up to your taste, but I think this sounds cool. It brings a cool touch to the whole thing. These filter cutoffs are more known in electronic dance music, but I think this is just a cool little nuanced touch. As we get to the third part, the bridge, we got this small little transition over here. You already know this transition from the first part. I already talked about it. It's essentially the same. It makes the track just flow a lot smoother, as you can hear. What else do we got? We got a small tone over here. Just a foley hit with some reverb. To me it sounds kind of like a door. If you have a story in your mind, you are transitioning, you're moving through the door to the next section. And the bridge is a beautiful part to introduce something special, something really spicy, something new. And that's literally what I did here. I've just introduced a beautiful piano solo. It sounds like this. It is the same chord progression, changed it up a little bit, and I've added these top notes. And these top notes have I precisely changed the volume of these top notes to fit the whole track, and I think they sound fairly nice. I've changed the timing of the notes. As you can see, almost none of them is perfectly aligned with the grid. Last element, small little guitar pattern. It sounds like this. It just serves as an introduction to this part over here. So the Rode and guitar pattern is not instantly ending right here. It's sort of fading out like this. I've added the same thing over here as well, just to introduce the second part. Over here you can see I just let my track end with the piano fading out. As you can see, this is essentially the whole track. It's fairly simple. Now I want to talk a little bit about mixing and where to go from here. How can we finish this composition? We might just take this whole part and copy it over. There are countless of tracks that just use the first part to finish their track and get it to like 3 minutes or something. Just to give it a little bit more of a spicy touch. Change an instrument, change the drum pattern slightly. Your track is essentially finished. If I find the time to finish it, I'll definitely do so. Turned out really nice. Now for the mixing. So the mixing is really easy. There are 3 basic principles for the track. First, apply reverb to the piano. Second, apply delay to the guitar and the Rode. There you heard the delay. It's just a small touch of reverb. And on the drums, just apply compression. Mainly on the kick drum, compression on a bass drum. To make the kick and the bass to a more punchy kind of sound. This is what it sounds like with mixing. And this is what it sounds like without mixing. Just take a listen to this enormous difference. It sounds like ass. So if you want to get your tracks on the next level and get professional mixing results, go over to my website. There you got structured and in-depth explanations on everything that's important to mixing. Here on YouTube, I'm uploading several videos on mixing as well. So just check out my channel. I'm currently working on an EQ video. So be sure to check this video out. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great day. Have a great evening. Tell me what you want to see. Give me some feedback, positive, negative. I don't care. Just get the channel a bit growing. Catch you on the next.